Welcome to another video where in this video I'm going to be doing a series of videos where I'm tackling each category in turn to bring my previous playlist, which is Study With Me series and Practice Makes You Better series, up to date. So this would be a home study series. So please make sure you like and subscribe to get notification of these videos. Today I'm going to be tackling essential documents, one of the most important categories for when you pass your theory test, because if you get your documents wrong, you could end up with 3 points on your license. And if you didn't know, when you pass your driving test, you're on 2 years probation, which means if you get 6 points or more, you lose your license and you're back to square one, which is also a theory test question. What happens if you fail? If you lose your license, you've got to take another theory test, another driving test. In this series, I'm going to be using different series of apps. I always get asked which app would I recommend. I recommend the Driving Test Success, which are otherwise known as the 4-in-1. But as I go through, I'm going to use the apps that I tend to use in my boot camp and stuff like that, which is the Theory Test Pro, which I'm going to be using today. I'm going to be using the Driving Test Success, the app version, and the desktop version as we go along. And then I'm going to try some of the other ones that I haven't tried for a while, which is the DVSA one and a couple of others as we go through the series, just to see how they all operate and how they work. And you get to see it live in the videos as I do the questions. What I'll intend to do as well is a 50 question mock test. On my previous playlist, there were like 20 questions and 30 questions respectively to give you a head start. I'm still getting emails, WhatsApp messages and all the rest of it. How to study, what's the best way, blah blah blah. Can you extend the questions on your playlist, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to do a 50 question mock test on each and every one. But as I said, today I'm starting with essential documents. It's one of the important categories, but it's also one of the shorter categories. So there's not 50 questions in the essential documents category. It's actually 27. So I'm going to be doing a 27 question mock test today. Moving forwards, if it's got 50 questions or more, it will be 50 questions. As usual, I'm going to give you hints, tips, tricks, break it down as I go along to give you the best information possible that you can follow to give you the best possible chance of passing your theory test first time. So let's get started. With this app, this is the desktop version, by the way. This is Theory Test Pro. You can use VoiceOver. It's got it built in right here, so you can play it through your speakers rather than having to plug headphones in. I'm not going to play that. To be fair, I'll just listen to it. It's not the best VoiceOver, really robotic. But you have to do what's best for you. If you've got stuff like dyslexia, learning disability, sometimes it's good to have the questions read out to you, which you can also do on a real test, which is called VoiceOver. But I'm going to read it out and break it down if any tricky bits comes up. So first question, when should you update your vehicle registration certificate? You should update it like when you move, obviously change address, that stuff, which you always got to do with any organization. And when you move house, dentists, doctors, banks, it's that type of stuff. Or if you change your vehicle is the other one, or if your health changes. Those are the 3 common ones on the theory test they can give you. If you move house, health changes, or if you change your vehicle, you need to get your name removed off the V5C document, which is otherwise known as the vehicle registration document. So when you pass your driving test, no. When you move house, yes. As I always say, keep checking that answer just in case there's one better. So just because the answer that we spoke about at the beginning is here, don't neglect the others just in case. When your vehicle needs an MOT, no. When you have a collision, no. In order to supervise a learner driver, you need to have held your full driving license for the same category of vehicle for at least 3 years. What other requirement must you meet? You've got to be at least 21. So to supervise a learner driver, you have to be at least 21 and had your license your full license for at least 3 years. So to have a car with dual controls, no, you don't have to be with dual controls, which is what Driving Instructor has. You can learn with family members and friends. To be at least 21 is what we said at the beginning, but still check the other answers just in case. To be an approved driving instructor, like I said, you can learn with family members and friends, so you don't have to be a driving instructor. And to hold an advanced driving certificate, again, the answer is no to that one. What does it mean if your insurance policy has an excess of 500? Excess means is what you have to pay at first. So for example, if you had excess of 500 in this case, and you had an accident and caused damage or 1,500 pounds, you got to pay the first 500, and anything above that, the insurance will kick in. So with my example, you caused 1,500 pounds worth of damage, you pay the first 500, and then your insurance kicks in and it will pay the other £1,000. So excess is what you have to pay at first. The insurance company will pay the first 500 of any claim. Nope, it's you got to pay, not the insurance company. You will be paid 500 if you do not claim within 1 year. Answers again is no. Your vehicle insured for the value of 500 if it's stolen. No. You'll have to pay the first 500 of cost of any claim. So it's going to be that one. What does third-party insurance cover? Third-party insurance covers the damage you cause. That's the minimum requirement. So again, on the theory test, they can word it slightly differently. What's the minimum insurance covered by law? So on the real test, they can word it, what's the minimum insurance covered by law? The minimum cover of insurance is third-party insurance, which covers the damage you cause to anybody else's property. So you have an accident, crash into someone's garden wall, for example, your insurance will cover the damage you cause. It's unfair if you crash into somebody else and they would have to make payments to the damage you cause. Well, the insurance has got to pay for that. Their own insurance has to pay for it. That's why it's the minimum requirement by law. I will also add, if you have an accident caused damage, your insurance will pay for the damage you cause, but it's not paying for the damage to your vehicle. That's coming out your pocket. For that, the best one to have is fully com. But in this case, third party, it covers the damage to other people's property. Damage to your vehicle, no. Damage to other vehicles, yes. Still read the others. Injury to yourself, no. All damage and injuries, that's fully com. We'll come under that. Let's take a quick break from the video. Are you struggling with your theory test? Let me help you pass in just 5 days. Welcome to the 5-day theory test bootcamp, your shortcut to success. I have now taken my classroom sessions online. Come and join me and my students. Here's how it works. 2 hours a day on Zoom with me, live and interactive. Bite-sized lessons that make even the trickiest topics simple. Mock tests to build your confidence. Daily tips, words of encouragement to keep you motivated. Whether you're stuck on road signs, has a perception, or just don't know where to start, this course has everything you need to smash the theory test. Don't wait. Come and join the hundreds of learners who've passed with me. Start today. In 5 days, you'll feel ready, confident, and unstoppable. The link will be in the description. Now let's get back to the video. What information is found in the vehicle registration document? The vehicle registration document, otherwise known as the V5C document, they can word it either way. Sometimes they normally put the V5C in a bracket. But in terms of the information found, it's the registered keeper's details. I repeat, the registered keeper's details, not the owner. The registered keeper's details. So that's what we're looking for. First one out, registered keeper. Type of insurance cover, no. Service history details, no. The date of MOT, no. What's a statutory off-road notification, known as SORN for short? So statutory off-road, the key there is off-road. Sometimes there's clues in the question. You would have to stay calm enough to work it out, decipher. That's why I say read the questions carefully, read the answers. So statutory off-road notification is a form that you fill in if you're not going to tax your vehicle. I repeat that. It's a form that you fill in if you're not going to tax your vehicle, and now you have to take your vehicle off the road because the tax says your car could be on the road. If you're not taxing it, fill in one of these and then take your car off the public highway. It now needs to be on private land, your driveway, lockup, garage, something along those lines. So a notification to tell the DVA that a vehicle does not have a current MOT. That's not correct because we're looking at tax. Information kept by the police about the owner of the vehicle. Again, no. A notification to tell the DVLA that a vehicle is not being used on the road. Yes, it's not being used because it's not taxed. Information held by insurance companies to check a vehicle is insured. And again, answer no to that one. This question does not apply Northern Ireland. I've never seen that on a theory test before. What's the maximum fine for driving or riding without insurance? With the maximum fine for riding or driving for no insurance is now unlimited. That's what you're looking for, is literally they can charge you what they want if you get caught. So we don't need to look anywhere else. The only one answer for that's going to be, it's not going to be worded any other way. What must your vehicle have? Sorry, see, that's my dyslexia. That's why I say read the questions carefully, especially in my situation. Like I said, dyslexia's kicking in. When must your vehicle have valid insurance cover? You must have valid insurance cover before you can tax your vehicle. It should be MOT first. So the MOT says your car is roadworthy. Then insurance to say you can drive the car on the public highway. And then the tax, it says your car could be on the public highway. So when must your vehicle have valid insurance cover before you can make a statutory upfront notification? Nope. Before you can sell the vehicle? No. Before you can scrap your vehicle? No. And it's before you can tax your vehicle. You need it before you can tax. Again, this question does not apply in Northern Ireland. When will a new car need its first MOT? Right, a new car, when they say new, they're not talking about new to you. They're talking about new as in registered in a particular year. So a new car registered at the time of filming, 2025, won't need an MOT certificate until 2028. So it's 3 years. So if you registered, so if you bought a brand new car this year, 2025, your car will not need an MOT for the first 3 years. If something goes wrong, your manufacturer should be sorting that under warranty for free. And then after it reaches 3 years, it's going to be every year after that, every 12 months. So when it's 1 year old, no. When it's 3 years old, yes. When it's 5 years old, no. When it's 7 years old, again, no. What legal requirement must be met by a newly qualified driver? This is just a revamped question from the first one. And that's how the theory test works. And this is why I stress you fully understand your questions and fully understand your answers. So when they're worded differently, it still leads to the same outcome. They must display green L plates. There's no such thing. L plates are red, but there's green P plates. They must have a new photograph taken for their full license. And again, no. They must be accompanied on their first motorway journey. No, once you pass your driving test, you can go on the motorway on your own. But I suggest you take a Pass Plus or motorway lessons. And they must have valid motor insurance. Let me just quickly give you a bit more context behind that. The question, again, I read it. What legal requirement must be met by a newly qualified driver? The reason why this answers what it is, they must have valid motor insurance. Once the examiner says congratulations at the test center, you're no longer a learner, so your insurance is no longer valid. So if you drove your instructor's car to the test to take the test, or you drove your own car with someone beside you, obviously, once that examiner says congratulations, you cannot drive the car back because your insurance is no longer invalid. You went there as a learner driver, you're now passed, you're a qualified driver, you have to upgrade your insurance. That's the reason why. You've just passed your first practical driving test. What will you have to do if you get 6 penalty points on your license in the next 2 years? In the introduction to this video, I explained if you lose your license in the first 2 years, i.e. 6 points, you have to take another theory test, another driving test. Retake only your theory test. Obviously, no. Retake your theory and practical, yes. The reason why you got to take your theory test again, because it's 2 years. The theory test normally gets updated every 2 years. So your knowledge technically is out of date. Retake only your practical test, no. Reapply for your full license immediately, again, no. What do you need before you can legally use a motor vehicle on the road? What you need is insurance. Basically, yeah, it's just insurance. Or a driver's license for that particular category. That's another option. So it's either insurance to drive the vehicle on the road because you need to be legally insured, or a driver's license for the category of vehicle. If you guys don't know, you're doing a category B test when you go for your driving test. So you're doing a car test, which is category B. What do you need before you can legally use a motor vehicle on the road? An appropriate driver's license, breakdown cover, proof of identity, that's what your license is for, and a vehicle handbook. A police officer asks to see your documents. You do not have them with you. How many days do you have to produce them at a police station? The answer is 7 days. You have 7 days to produce your document at a police station that you nominate. So the police will give you a producer to produce your documents. And just in case you didn't know what documents they're going to ask you to produce, it's your driver's license, insurance, or MOT certificates. It could be any one of those or all three. So driver's license, insurance, or MOT. And you're looking for 7 days. So 5 days, 7 days. You don't need to look any further. It's not going to be a better answer than that. Your car needs to pass an MOT test. What may be invalidated if you drive a car without a current MOT certificate? That's going to be insurance. So let me explain why. Let's say you went for an MOT test. Your MOT failed because of brakes. You thought, I'm not going to do retest it, get the brakes fixed or pay for the brakes to get fixed. At this point in time, your MOT is not valid, which means your insurance is not valid. So you leave the MOT center, you're driving around, you had an accident because you couldn't stop the car in time. Your insurance is not paying out for that because your car's not roadworthy. And that's why your insurance will be invalid. And just in case you didn't know, MOT test to say your car is roadworthy. That's what MOT test is. It says your car is roadworthy at the time of being checked, if it passes, obviously. The vehicle service record, no. Your vehicle insurance, yes. Vehicle tax, no. Vehicle registration document, no. When could the cost of your insurance be reduced? If you do more training. For you guys, after you pass your driving test, it would be Pass Plus, which is 6 hours. Incorporates motorway driving, nighttime driving, adverse weather driving. So that's what it's going to be. Take more training. When you're under 25 years old, no. Insurance is going to be kind of high when you're under 25, to be fair. When you do not wear glasses, no. When you pass the driving test first time, no. When you complete the Pass Plus scheme, yes. Your car requires an MOT certificate. When is it legal to drive without an MOT certificate? Right, let me give you some context on this one. The time it's legal to drive without an MOT certificate is when you go into an appointment already been booked. So if you go back to the previous question, statutory off-road notification, SON for short. Remember, you took your car off the road because it's not being taxed. You now decide that you want to tax your vehicle. Remember, you need an MOT first to say your car's roadworthy, but remember, it's been off the road. So what you do is phone up, make an appointment first, make sure it's fully booked, and then you can now drive the car directly to the appointment. That's the only legal time you can drive out an MOT. So up to 7 days after the old certificate has run out, no. When driving to an MOT center to arrange an appointment, I'm going to tick that one. The answer is no with that, but I want to make a point. That's what the video is about, always learning something new. And that's why I keep saying read the questions carefully. When driving the car without the owner's permission. Right, so these two we get rid of. Take note very carefully. I said to you, the only time you can drive the car without MOT legally is when driving to an appointment already being booked. If you read this one carefully, when driving to an MOT center to arrange an appointment, it means you drove there and you're trying to arrange the appointment. That's why it's a no. This one, which is the correct answer, when driving to an appointment at the MOT center. That's the reason why I say be very careful, because this comes up in the boot camp and students still pick this one because they haven't read it carefully. This is to arrange. This is already being arranged. That's why it's this answer. So don't fall into the same trap. Your insurer will issue you with an insurance certificate. When must you produce this document for inspection? Law and order. If the police asks for it, you need to produce it. When making a statutory off-road notification, no. When buying or selling a vehicle, no. When a police officer asks for it, yes, because it's law and order. When a vehicle is having its MOT test, no. Who's responsible for paying the vehicle's tax? The responsibility is the registered keeper. It's the registered keeper's responsibility, not the driver of the vehicle. It's the registered keeper and not the owner of the vehicle. The common answer is owner or the driver. The owner could be your finance company. If you took your car on finance, they own the car. They're not paying for your tax as well. So it's the registered keeper responsibility, which is the name on the V5C document. The driver of the vehicle, no. The registered keeper of the vehicle, yes. The car dealer, no. The driver and vehicle licensing authority, which is known as a DVLA, no. Who's legally responsible for ensuring that a vehicle registration certificate V5C is updated? That's the way the theory test works. Sometimes back-to-back questions, just worded slightly differently. As you know from the previous question, it's a registered keeper. Always leads to the same answer when it comes to this type of question. But just to read the others just in case, the vehicle manufacturer, the insurance company, the licensing authority, which is the DVLA, based on the previous question. What circumstances require you to notify the driver and vehicle licensing agency, the DVLA? Change of address, health, or if you're changing a car, selling your car, you want to get your name off of that paperwork. So when your health affects your driving, that's what we just spoke about. If your health changes in any shape or form, you need to notify them. They may take away your license or revoke it, or put restriction on your license depending on the health issue that you are reporting. And when you have to work abroad, no. When you lend your vehicle to someone else, no. When your vehicle needs MOT, and again, answer no. What must you have when you apply to renew your vehicle's tax? So remember, we spoke about the tax is when for your car to be on the road. So you need the MOT first to say your car is roadworthy, and then a valid insurance to say you are allowed to drive the car on the road. So it's going to be one of those two, MOT first or valid insurance. Valid insurance is the first one out, but just let's read the others. The vehicle chassis number, the handbook, and a valid driver's license. And you don't need a driver's license to tax your vehicle, but you do need insurance. For how long is a statutory off-road notification valid for? Until you sell it, tax it, or scrap it. So it lasts until you sell, tax, or scrap your vehicle. Until the vehicle is taxed, so the scrap first one out. Until the vehicle is insured and MOT'd, no. Until the vehicle is repaired or modified, no. Until the vehicle is used on the road, again, no. What's the legal minimum insurance cover you must have to drive on the public roads? So it's worded slightly differently. Just going back to the earlier questions, I think it may be the first one out. Minimum legal requirements, third party. No, I don't think it was the first one out, but it's one of the 2 or 3 questions that came out. Third party. Take note, third party fire and theft. That's the second one up. The minimum requirement is third party only. And then you have third party fire and theft, which is the same thing, but you got fire and theft involved. So if someone sets fire to your car, as long as it's not arson, if someone steals your car, you'll get it back, some money back, not get your car back, you get some money back on that. And the best one to have is fully comprehensive insurance, but it's asking for the legal minimum insurance, which is third party. What's covered by third party insurance, as you, again, question wise, it's damage to other people's property, other people's vehicle, depends on how they want to word it. So what's covered by third party insurance? Damage to your vehicle, no. Fire damage to your vehicle, no. Flood damage to your vehicle, no. Damage to other vehicles, yes. For how long is MOT certificate normally valid? An MOT certificate, remember, says your car is roadworthy at the time of being checked. They can word it 12 months or a year. So they can say 12 months or a year. For some reason, when they word it differently, students still get the wrong answer. 12 months is a year is 12 months. So don't get tricked by that. For how long is the MOT certificate valid? For how long? 3 years after the date was issued, no. 10,000 miles, no. 1 year after the date was issued, yes. 30,000 miles, no. For how long is an MOT certificate normally valid? Oh, sorry, that's confusing. And you got to tick this twice to pass that. Duh. I'm going to leave that in the video, by the way. What must you check before you drive someone else's vehicle? If you're driving someone else's vehicle, you must make sure it's insured for you to drive. Your insurance doesn't travel. So if you've got your own car, your own insurance, it doesn't mean so you can jump into somebody else's car to drive it. So you must make sure you got valid insurance for that vehicle. That vehicle's owner has third-party insurance cover, no. That your own vehicle has insurance cover, no. That the vehicle is insured for you to use, yes. And that the insurance documents are in the vehicle. You don't have to have that in the vehicle. Remember, if you haven't got it, the police will give you a producer to produce it at a police station that you nominate within 7 days. When must you contact the driver and vehicle licensing agency, known as the DVLA? Similar question as before. Said when must you contact? Remember, it's health, change of address, or if you're changing your vehicle. When you get a parking ticket, no. When you change your vehicle, yes. When you use your vehicle for work, no. When your vehicle's insurance is due, again, no. So there you have it, 27 out of 27. Like I said, this is one of the shorter categories with the document, but it's also an important one for when you've passed your driving test, not necessarily for the theory test itself. I'll be honest with you, based on feedback, there's not a lot of document questions that come up on the real test. Statutory kind of thing, yeah, but not a lot. But like I said, there's only 27 questions, one of the shorter categories, but one of the most important for when you've passed your driving test. So don't neglect it. Make sure you take the information in, source information. So hopefully you got some benefit from this. If you did, just pop a like on the video so YouTube knows it was popular and can show it to other people to share the channel so they can see it and go on to pass their theory test. YouTube will show you a video here. I'm going to show you another one here. Don't forget to check out the playlist Home Study Series as it grows. It's going to give you a head start for all the categories, giving you hints, tips and tricks, just like what you learned in this video. I'll catch you in the next video.